down the adult circle. He's going to come up and introduce the speaker.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for coming. I'm just the opening act here. I'm here to announce our speaker for tonight is Dr. Parrella. I first met him in 1985 when I took my first class at Santa Clara University, Introduction to Catholic Theology. So we've known each other for 22 years officially. I took him 5 times. So he's well recommended and highly trusted. Comes from New York and Fordham University, and has been a professor at Santa Clara for many, many years. And without further ado, I introduce Fred. He teaches theology of marriage, theology of death, Catholic theology in both undergraduate and graduate programs at Santa Clara University. Gotta get the man ready.
How's that? Better? I'll project. Higher?
Louder.
Louder. I'll just hold it. How's that? Am I loud now? Thank you, Rob, for the introduction. I'll just hold this. I don't have a blackboard, so I might have to nibble on this instead of chalk for a change. I'm the Catholic Church's version of March Madness. I knew that line would work, but I thought I would try it anyway. Not only have I taught Rob for 5 classes, he had the singularly best line I've had in me as a teaching at Santa Clara, and that was, one day my glasses fell off the podium, they came apart, I looked very frustrated, I looked at them, and Rob was the type that always raised his hand and said, "Is this on the exam?" And so I'm dealing with the fact that I don't have glasses, and I said, "Now what do you want, Rob?" And he said, "Don't let them see you sweat. Never let them see you sweat." And that's true, I remember that. And since then, I have taken his advice. And that was about 20 years ago. Well, I'm going to speak tonight about hope and death, and what follows death. I was really only going to speak about death and what follows death, but then I met Christina, and she says, "I want you to talk about hope also." It's hard to put hope and death in the same sentence. Most of us are terrified of death. Most of us are also very cut off from any concrete experience of death. And the reason for that simply is that in a much more traditional culture, people died at home. It's only in the last 3 or 4 generations of people that we've had things like mortuaries and funeral parlors and closed caskets. And while death is all around us massively on the front page of every newspaper, unless it's somebody we know, it tends to be something very abstract. People died at home. Most siblings born lost. Most people born lost a sibling somewhere along the line. So we've been cut off from the experience of death. And now, of course, when people get old, they're put into nursing facilities where they often die at 4:30 in the morning, and the family isn't with them. So we have very little experience of death. And that's a problem, because we have nothing in our experience that we can say, this makes sense to me about death. And most people run from death as if it didn't happen, and then all of a sudden you grow up and you find out, my birthday's tomorrow, I'm turning 64, and I'm hoping people will still love me. and still need me. And I never thought I'd make it this long. But here I am, sipping Corona and talking about death. There's some connection there. Let me say something about hope that's important. Of all of the virtues, hope is the one hardly ever considered. Everybody talks about faith. Everybody has to have faith. Or everyone searches for some faith. God knows we talk about love. Love your brothers and sisters. We live in a culture just consumed by distorted views of what love really is. Most of us reduce love to a nice, warm feeling about other people. It's not. That goes along with it. Very little is said about hope. And many people, it seems to me, of your generation, you're not all that young, but you're certainly of another generation than I am, I wonder what you really hope for. Or I wonder if you have something clear enough in your minds that you say, I can hope for this. There cannot be any real faith, any real love without also hope. An expectation that everything will be well. Julian of Norwich, the great woman mystic of the 14th century, we don't really know her name, and in a line that later T.S. Eliot uses in Little Gidding at the very end of the fourth quartet, says, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. And that's just what hope is. That no matter what happens, nothing can separate me from the love of God in Jesus. Nothing. Nothing from the outside can destroy that. That I am a hopeful person. Hope certainly does not mean hoping to avoid all of life's difficulties. Trust me, it doesn't happen that way. And you all know that. You all know that friend in high school or that friend in college that was a good friend that was killed in a car accident or that contracted a disease or took his or her own life. You realize, God, that could have been me, perhaps. We know things that are evil and destructive happen to us. Sometimes we're at fault, sometimes we're not. Sometimes it's just random genes we inherit that get into our bodies and cause diseases. But without hope, faith and love loses their savor. Because hope means not just living in the present, but thinking in the past and looking towards the future right here and now. It doesn't mean closing past and future off. It means embracing them and making them present and saying yes to myself here and now and yes to my future. And yes to the fact that we are children of God, that we are made in God's image and likeness, and that we do have a future as God's children. No matter how modern culture tries to convince us that we don't have a future as a child of God, or that we have a much more important future here and now. Call success, call this, call that, call a comfortable life, call a 401k, call the new Mercedes convertible, you call it whatever you like, call it a title on the door, it's all lovely things. Call it the perfect man or woman of your dreams. They don't exist, by the way. Just have a good man and a good woman who's willing to share life with you. It's the best any of us ever do.